Man, so I wanted to talk a little bit today. There was a story about Flint, Michigan. And the question is, first of all, I hope everybody's doing okay. I hope everybody's doing well. And well, no matter where you are, it's just pandemonium. And so I hope you guys can go outside soon, safely, and not get your stuff ransacked or stolen. And yeah, what a crazy world. So if you're creating your own reality and you're into all that spiritual thing, just into the spiritual side of things, you're creating your own world. Good. That's awesome. That's what I would do right now, and I'll try that later today. What I wanted to do today is talk a little bit about who poisoned Flint, Michigan. And this is just a total failure of government in Flint, Michigan. So just to be clear, I don't believe that we don't need government. I think government is a good thing, and I would say prove me wrong. This story, who poisoned Flint, Michigan? A writer returns home to find a toxic disaster, giant government failure, and countless children exposed to lead. So the story goes on to say, Mom moved my two sisters and me to the appropriately named town of Flushing on the outskirts of Flint, Michigan in 1980. My dad had just been killed in a plane crash, and she reasoned my Flint uncle would serve as a surrogate father. That didn't happen. So to make a long story short, this woman I guess she took a water sample from Flint, Michigan. And what she ended up finding, and this is something that we all know, was that the water was poisoned with lead. So I guess she found the reasons, she went on to find the reasons as to why the water was being poisoned. She became physically ill when she started to drink the water, and she discovered that lead levels of kids under 5 in Flint were dangerously elevated. I was told the few $1,000,000 saved by the city on Flint water would now cost hundreds of millions to repair ruined pipes. So the water was poisoned because the pipes were old. The human damage is incalculable. Think of a mother waking in the middle of the night to make formula for her baby and unwittingly using liquid death as a mixer. So this is just more in the topic of, what is going on with the government? Do we need the government? Is it dependable? These are all valuable questions right now. What did we do wrong? What is our 50%? And I'm still scrolling through this a little bit. But anyway, she's got water coming out of her tap. This is something we already knew. Michael Moore used to talk about this. The water is actually yellow. So if you ever go to Flint, Michigan, don't drink the water. And so what they ended up doing is they ended up cutting the water supply, or they cut the cost in order to save money of the water supply. So the pipes were old. They needed to repair the pipes. They cut the, budget in order to make clean water at the facility. Who knows why? First of all, you need a healthy population. You need to stay healthy. Second of all, this is just kind of terrible. It's on Get Pocket today, this story. Think about it. Would you ever want to live in a place where there's no clean water? You can't really do that and do anything. I'm actually looking at the screen right now. My eyes are bugging out. Anyway, should you care? Yeah, you should definitely care. I really think that there is a really important point to be made here, and especially in these times where everyone's revolting against government, it hasn't done its job. There are some other things too that I haven't made my opinion about, and maybe you can help me with, and you should think about, because I don't know. But like, they're burning Mercedes that are $200 or $200,000 in LA. So if you're a Mercedes dealership, would you want to bring your business here? And here's the flip side. So the flip side is, or would you want to bring your business here? I mean, at this point, I have to really come at you like that. You know, if you were a business person and you saw, let's say you own the store, you own that Mercedes franchise, or if you were a Mercedes manufacturer, think even bigger. Would you want to bring your business here right now when you see $200,000 cars being burned in the mall? And I'll tell you this, like, I'm not a fan of Donald Trump. He is correct in saying that you need a safe country in order to run things. Should he monopolize making the country safe for his own personal, greedy, control issue self? No, because we don't want to depend on Donald Trump to do that for us. We don't need the government to make the country safe all the time. We don't. Is it a good thing to have a military? Yes, we need that, especially with the state of the United States. Is it a good thing to have an organized militia? Yes, it's part of the Constitution. The biggest thing is you can't abuse that power. You shouldn't abuse that power, and that's what he's doing, and that's why we have all these problems right now. So, as you know, as always, Black Lives Matter. Keep in mind, think about this. This is the struggle that I've been dealing with lately. When you are making a plan, and when you are persisting to make that plan, right now there are so many obstacles for me in going out and to do those things. So what am I supposed to do? Like, kind of sit here and just kind of hope and pray that things clear up, because a lot of that stuff I can't solve. Right? It's out of my control. What was the other thing I wanted to talk about today? Albuquerque's downtown is doing pretty well, in case you cared. And I did see pictures of Philly, and it's really upsetting because I used to live in Philadelphia, and I really did fall in love with the city. I think that was the only place that I ever was, and I was happy to go outside. Like, it was a functioning city. It was an amazing city, and it's really sad to see the city fall down. I mean, the whole city concept is city of brotherly love. I really believe that that's there, 100%. The people are really hard. However, some of the parts of downtown Philadelphia were just beautiful. I mean, they were really, really beautiful. So I really hope that they get it together, because the city's in ruins, and that's the city that I really love. You know, Albuquerque's okay. It's kind of old. It's kind of sleepy. It's extremely native, which means that, you know, there's a lot of infighting over who owns the land still. It's big on culture, and education. So the education system is kind of weak here, and they've given the land and they've given the mentality over to the Native Americans and saying this is the tribal land here. So I think the natives try and fight for their land. They call it the Navajo Nation. And me being a white individual at this point in time, I really don't know how I identify, if I even identify as white. Who knows? All I know is that getting outside and living here is a little harder. And there are good days, but when it comes to working and thinking, it's definitely, I can still do those things, luckily. But the Black Lives Matter protest is pretty good. you know, I really believe that that death was, you know, George Floyd's death was really sad, and I don't want to know how it was made. You know, I really don't think it's you saw the worst side of white extremism in this country, and whoever let that happen, it's a total wake-up call. Doing whatever you want is not always a good thing. Saving money doesn't save lives. We found that out. Can government be run better? Absolutely. Can it be run better, more cheaply? And the answer is yes. Definitely. So, yeah, those were the two things I wanted to talk about today. The water in Floyd, and this is old news. It really is old news. Flint, Michigan is yellow. The kids are all poisoned. Literally, like they drink the water from their tap and it's poisoned. So, yeah. Think about that. And what I want you to do today is, really, if you want a country at this point, what would you do? If you want a country at this point, what should you do? Knowing that this exists, that the government didn't tell anybody, they cut the cost to rebuild the pipes for the water. The water is literally poisoned, and these kids have lead poisoning. Imagine if you're 5 years old. All right, you know, bear with me here, but don't, you should actually be outraged. Bear with me here, and do bear with me here. That's what I meant to say. Imagine if you're 5 years old. You go and you live 50 years of your life thinking you can drink the water from the tap. Am I right? Later on, you find out maybe you have lead poisoning and you've been suffering from it your entire life. The majority of Americans probably have some form of lead poisoning, let's be honest, from drinking the crappy water. I mean, what do you do with that type of revelation? What do you do knowing that? I would feel really guilty living in this country, thinking and knowing that that stuff's happening. I didn't have anything to do with it, and I've worked really hard to make sure that it doesn't happen, but it's sad. Another thing that I wanted to talk about today, there are 3 articles on Rolling Stone. How the far-right fanatics hijacked Kansas, the hacker who cared too much, and the absolute clusterfuck inside the denial and dysfunction of Trump's coronavirus task force. And yes, I'm sure that these things are important today. And instead of drinking, which I want to do, all this shit is really making me want to drink, I'm powering through it and I'm choosing not to. Absolute clusterfuck inside the denial and dysfunction of Trump's coronavirus task force. So why was this so bad, and why is this still so bad? Well, this is still so bad because this goes along more with how the government is not run well. Inside the denial and dysfunction of Trump's coronavirus task force. And this is why Donald Trump is so dangerous. This man has no training as a politician. None. He is the epitome of greed in this country. He lives in a gold tower in Manhattan. Was he successful? I guess so. Did he declare bankruptcy? Like 7 or 8 times. He sold his name to Wall Street to make a dollar bill. Whatever. You know, if you believe in the Bible and that's the reason you voted for Trump, well, terrible mindset. Donald Trump holding up a Bible at the church is not going to save anybody. And if that's what he wants to do, then it's just not going to work. after he tear gasses an entire crowd. So what was I talking? Oh, so why was this so bad? I talked about this in another video. Trump's coronavirus task force. So it says the dysfunction of Trump's coronavirus task force. So after this came here, the coronavirus came here, Trump continued to say that we have the best numbers in the world for eliminating the coronavirus and getting it out of our country. The headline is Missed Warnings, Conflicting Messages, and Broken Promises, How the White House Fumbled Its Response to the Worst Pandemic in a Century. Let's see. The best people. President Trump put Vice President Pence in charge of the coronavirus task force in February, soon after Kushner launched his own shadow task force. So if you don't know anything about this guy, Kushner, he's a total idiot. He's a slimy greaseball. And here's the biggest problem. I really believe this. You see all these people shirking responsibility. What does shirking mean? Shirking means not taking responsibility for anything that they do. So instead of saying we really fucked up, we really messed up, we let the coronavirus come here, and it was from Wuhan, somehow it came here, they made a task force to try and stamp this thing out. Here's the biggest problem I have with this. The government being in charge of your health. The government being in charge of your health care is a really terrible thing. And I can't believe I'm saying that because I do believe in Medicare and Medicaid. And that's on the good end of things. I'm saying when you have somebody like this who doesn't care about you, being in charge of curing a virus, it's not a good thing. It hasn't worked, obviously, right? And why would you want the government to be in charge of your health care in such a way? Medicare and Medicaid doesn't do that. You still can choose your primary provider. You're not dealing with the coronavirus. I'll tell you this, though. If everybody had health insurance right now, the government would still be freaking out and they would have a job to do. But everybody could say, I'm going to go to my primary physician. I'm going to get tested for the coronavirus. It's going to be a normal thing. And you're going to ask your doctor, hey, do I have symptoms? Do I really have symptoms? And that would be a normal thing. This is just like an emergency. This is like a government freaking out because they really messed up. And you know what they did? They defunded the CDC for about 2 to 3 years. I'll tell you this though, and this is new to me, and this is my lesson. I've been paying taxes for 32 years. This year I am still waiting on a tax refund. I filed my taxes in February. So are they holding on to that money to fix this thing? Who knows? Or that's probably what they're doing. They're probably charging me an invisible cost I don't know about and saying it's my fault because I'm a millennial or I'm lazy or something like that, which is totally not true. It's ridiculous. So what were my points? How did the government botch this response? Bernie Sanders has said this is the worst. This is the worst disastrous response to an epidemic we've ever faced. Trump's called whole states ignorant. Governors you're seeing a total dysfunction of government because of Trump. Republican governors and senators are turning against Trump. They don't want him anymore because he's terrible. And so anyway, so here's one of the things. The experts immediately took their warnings to policymakers and officials in Washington, D.C. One public health specialist who asked to remain anonymous says that when he briefed government officials in February, they were stunned to learn how grim the situation was, that it was too late to contain the virus, that mitigation was the only option, and that as many as half of all Americans could become infected from COVID-19. They looked at me like I was crazy, the specialist says, because no one had told them before. crazy. By February 28th, the group's warnings had reached the highest rungs of the Trump administration. One day after he was appointed to the White House Coronavirus Task Force, Dr. Jerome Adams, the Surgeon General and Chief Medical Officer for the United States, was added to the Red Dawn chain. A representative for Adams says the Surgeon General didn't see these emails, and the days afterward, Adams downplayed the coronavirus, pointing out that fried food and sitting on your couch were more likely to lead to your death. Funny enough, what have emotional people done? They've gone to church. I've seen like lines at Church's Chicken. But if Adams had read the email, he would have read Metro's most dire warning yet. Widespread testing problems have prevented experts from seeing the full scope of this crisis. So cities and states had already begun. I can finally say cities and states had already begun to prepare. But an outbreak of this magnitude called for nothing less than a nationwide response. If we had any hope of stopping a full-blown pandemic. But it soon evolved into a typical Trump boondoggle. A company Kushner had invested in, Oscar Health, was tapped to build a government website that would speed up testing. The site was later scrapped. Kushner turned to his brother, Josh's father-in-law, Kirk Claus, who was a doctor, for recommendations on how to deal with the crisis. That led to Claus, the father of supermodel Carly Claus, Josh's wife, posting on a Facebook group for emergency room doctors that he was looking for smart ideas and had a direct channel to the person now in charge of the White House. Which is actually a good idea. Because he consulted a doctor and a physician. And this is Kushner. This is one of Trump's weird advisors. Federal agencies that normally play a central role in a disaster response efforts have found themselves left out of the action. Pete Gaynor, the head of the Federal Emergency Management Agency, told Congress that his agency wasn't invited to join the president's coronavirus task force until the week of March 16, 6 weeks after the task force was created. Trump kind of has like a weird crony system. Or like this guy Kushner, I don't think has any government experience at all. And listen, if you're total anti-government, hear me out. If you vote for people still, you want those politicians to run, to have some background, to have some education in political science. I firmly believe that. Just going up there, with a big old D isn't going to solve your problems. Oh, let's vote for the guy with the big balls. Not always a good thing to do. Okay? Or let's vote for the guy that hates Mexicans. Let's vote for that guy. Let's vote for the guy that the radical right and the Christians have been breeding for 30, 40 years to solve our problems for us. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. One of the most dangerous things that I saw, and I'm rambling on, so I need to cut this video short, or stop talking, there's just so much to talk about. One of the things that I saw that I really wanted to talk about was, so Governor Lightfoot, she is the mayor of, or I think it's a he. No, it's a girl. Governor Lightfoot and her team spent the weekend trying to figure out what Trump's order meant and how to implement it. If someone stepped off a plane from China and had to go into a mandatory 14-day quarantine, what authority did Chicago have to enforce that? Where would they put that person at the airport and hotel? It would also need 24-hour security to make sure they remain in quarantine for the full 2 weeks. Who was going to pay for that? Listen, I also don't want to judge anybody. Mayor Lightfoot is the I don't know how people like her in Chicago. I really don't. I do know this. I heard a story about Obama the other day. And Obama's surging up in power was just kind of the wrong time in history. Why was it the wrong time? Well, it was the wrong time because he didn't go to public school. I think he went to just private education. Or I don't even know. I don't even know what he did. Or it might have been the right time. Who knows? I'll say this, though. He didn't have a public education, so he's a little out of touch when it comes to that. I also heard this. So in order to win Chicago, he somehow had enough power to reorganize his entire district. So he was not doing well with black Americans. And what he did is he reorganized his constituency with white people and Jewish people who ended up giving him money. So they sent him money, and that's how he ended up winning in Chicago after he was destroyed the first time in politics. He did not do very well. So was Obama good? Did he get what he wanted? Yeah, I guess he did. Did he do it in a way that was not democratic? Yes. But at this point in history, I've seen it all. I'm not surprised. Would I rather have Obama than Trump? Absolutely. So Lightfoot wrote letters to Trump and Pence and waited nearly 2 months before getting a brief call with Pence. She banded together with other mayors and local leaders to devise a response to the coronavirus pandemic. Every Sunday, she joins a conference call with other mayors to share data and learn from one another's efforts to get ahead of the pandemic. She mostly given up on receiving any serious help from the federal government. So this is the mayor of Chicago. We can't depend on the federal government. It would be great if they stepped up and did what needs to be done. But you see it for yourself. Lightfoot says, there's no leadership there. She's talking about Trump. I mean, this is a total failure. It really is. Black Lives Matter, Rolling Stone stands in solidarity with peaceful protesters across America. You're seeing a total failure, systemic breakdown of every system in the country. I really firmly believe that. It's almost like it's just too much. I can't give up on this being the land of the free, and I really do believe that there are powerful minds here. What I have to do is I have to say, having a man that can't even quote, who says he's a Christian, quote a Bible verse, being a leader, I don't even think he knows what he is at this point. I think he's just total money, egotistic. He holds up a Bible. Yeah, he's declaring, okay, well, I'm a Christian. I have a Bible in my hands. I really don't know. I guess that's all he does. He just believes in the Christian God. I really don't know. I'll say this, persistence really does pay off, though. When it comes to, getting to the right side of things. Oh, that was my message today. So, inside the denial and dysfunction of Trump's coronavirus task force, Black Lives Matter, and there's even a trending article today, A Practical Guide to Defunding the Police. Practical Guide to Defunding the Police. Should police be defunded? Well, if it saves me $1 right now, all for that. Absolutely. I'll say this though, I am on Trump's team when it comes to this. We do need police. We need police to some extent. They just can't be as radical as they're being, and there are good cops. I firmly believe that. Do I want to pay an exorbitant amount for a police officer salary? No, I don't. I don't have money for that. I'm not going to be the only man that funds the police force. Practical Guide to Defunding the Police. Defunding the police, getting rid of the police. That's what that's really saying. Getting rid of the police. Elvis Costello this morning. This is just to give you a. Here's the last two headlines. New York City's curfew is only leading to more police brutality, and Elvis Costello unveils a roiling new song, No Flag. That's pretty interesting. Man, what a radical country we have become. And it's on both sides now. It's the response to the radical right, you know? This is the radical response. I'm not even going to call it the left. It's the radical response. Because getting rid of the police, defunding the police, that is a radical response. That's not a left or a right thing. Other side of America tackles racial inequality. Racial inequality. So, what a touchy topic. Maybe I should make another video about this. Racial inequality. Meek Mill's Other Side of Racial America tackles racial inequality. Do I believe in racial inequality? Yes, absolutely. Other Side of America, Meek Mill's. I really have to question Meek Mill's intelligence. You know, we've been working to solve this problem in our country for 60 years, and it's radically affecting me now to be able to go outside and do this, or to just do anything. So how do you tackle racial inequality in this country? God, I really think you have to step back at this point, and you just can't kill a black guy in the streets. You can't do that. Have there been white people killed in the streets? Yes. The bigger issue is police brutality. So police killing anybody, it's not just a racist thing. Does it happen more to African Americans? I've heard both things. I've heard both sides. But police brutality, that's the bigger issue here. Black lives matter, all lives matter, and they really do. So whatever that Seth Rogen idiot, or what's the Ashton Kutcher's name? Ashton Kutcher guy saying you shouldn't watch my movies if you believe all lives matter. What I think that they're trying to say is we don't want the right to capitalize on this movement and saying all lives matter. But I will say this: the cops killing anybody is not a good thing, and all lives really do matter. And Seth Rogen, I don't think your movies are even that funny. I really don't. Ashton Kutcher, you too. Jesus, you've made some stinkers. Seriously. God, what was the one, the butterfly effect? Oh my God, it's terrible. So if I don't watch your movies anymore to save some lives, totally fine with that. However, I am glad that you are doing your Black Lives Matter stuff. Good for you. Is there a better way to do this? Yes. It's called peaceful protesting. And I have seen African American men beating the crap out of white shop owners. Is that racist? Food for thought. Another item I'd like to talk about is, are we all black? And why are we just coming back to color again? It's like, here's the thing that I keep talking to my friends. It's like, I'm black, and that's all I do. Is that where we are in history? Like, if you're black, you have to fight to be black? Or is it you're just black, and we got so far away from that in history? you know, like having to just be that, and it's just a total waste of time. We've already fought for that. We really have. And Joe Biden said it best. He said, we've already done this. Why are we doing this again? And who knows? It's just, I guess we have to in order to, you can read between the lines there. If you're protesting police brutality, you're not thugs. Okay? You are a thug if you beat up a white woman or any woman, regardless of color, in the streets. So don't be a thug. If you're an African American guy and that's how you're going your life, don't be a thug. If you're a white guy, don't be a thug. Peaceful protesting is what Martin Luther King was talking about. So I want to wrap up this video. You're actually, yeah, I mean, President Trump has been racist the whole entire time. I mean, he's been on the side of racist white supremacists the whole entire time. So if you're an African American right now, do you have a point? Absolutely. I would be pissed off too. Are there some African Americans that voted for Trump? Yeah. There are. However, I firmly believe that most minorities on the side of the Democrats. The biggest thing is you want to be safe in this country, you want to be able to make a living, and you want to make your money in the right way. It's not a liberal thing. Dysfunction of Trump's coronavirus task force. Missed warnings, conflicting messages, and broken promises. How the White House fumbled its response to the worst pandemic in a century. I sat back and I also reflected on this, and I totally lived my life, not even thinking about this for a while. But we had swine flu in 2002. We had, God, what did we just go through? Now the coronavirus and SARS-1, right? Swine flu was 2014. So, yeah, once again, health is a big issue. Alright guys, so go enjoy your day. I'm not trying to depress you, just trying to point out the facts. It is a little heavy, the news. Is there any good news today? Of course, you're alive if you're watching this video. Maybe. Who knows? Pharaoh, you want to come say hi? Pharaoh, come here. Come say hi. Pharaoh, up, come. So this is Pharaoh. So Pharaoh is relaxing. Pharaoh the wonder dog. He's getting really big. Oh my God. Come here. 1, 2, 3. Pharaoh the wonder dog. Yes. Sit up. I'm raising a puppy. Say hi. Oh yeah. Pharaoh. Yeah, get your ball. Get your ball. Get your ball. So anyway, I hope you guys have a good day. And oh yeah. Hope that you guys are enjoying the news. Make sure you stand up, protest, and realize that a practical guide to defunding the police at a time like this, that might not be a bad article. We still need police to some extent. That's a little radical to defund the police. So, good luck today, and I'll post later. Trump resign. You're terrible at your job. You've been an ineffective leader. Goodbye. Trump resign. Or fire Trump. That would be radical, you know? What if the Democrats started to say that? we're firing you. You act like a CEO of a company, you treat America like a company, guess what? You should be in business. You should be running a company. You shouldn't be president. You don't know how to do it. You don't have the systems, you don't have the thought. Alright, so I will catch you later. Bye.